Hello, my golf friend. Welcome back to Think Above Par. Hope you're having a beautiful day. I have a special podcast for you today. I didn't do a very good job of sharing with you all that I had a golf summit. It was on October 22nd, which will be yesterday from the time this is getting released. And it was fantastic. I had 16 amazing women speakers who are experts and leaders in the golf industry speak on things about the mind, the body, and the swing. And I did it all day from 9:30 until almost 4:30. But with that being said, some of the speakers couldn't come on live because they had obligations. So I pre-recorded a few of them, and I wanted to share the interview that I had with Dr. Alison Curdt with you here. She's an amazing person and leader in the golf industry. So I took an excerpt from this and I'm sharing it with you here. And if you're interested in listening to the other 15 speakers that I had, you can still sign up and get the replays and become a VIP at golfforwomensummit.com. But I think you're going to really enjoy this interview with Dr. Alison Curdt, as she is an amazing teacher, player, and she is a sports psychologist. So without further ado, here's my interview with Dr. Alison Curdt. Okay, so here we have Dr. Alison Curdt. Thank you so much for joining us on the summit. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much for the invite, Kathy. I'm excited to chat with you.
Yeah, no, this is great. Okay, so you all know this would take 20 minutes to read her resume, so I'm going to give you some of the highlights. You are a dual PGA Master and LPGA Master professional, and you're in the Los Angeles area, and you specialize in sports psychology, right? So you help golfers both mentally and physically. I'm going to tell you that she has so many awards. It would take me forever to go through them, but a lot of Professional of the Year awards, and she is a fantastic golfer. You're constantly playing and competing and winning stuff all the time. It's amazing to me. It's really impressive. So tell everybody a little bit more about what you specifically do, since you do so many amazing things in the game of golf.
Yeah, so I would say that my world is sort of a trifecta. There's three areas that I tend to focus on professionally and personally. So by day, I'm a golf coach, golf instructor, golf teacher, whatever word feels most comfortable. And I work at a golf course called Wood Ranch out in Los Angeles and have multiple students, teach 40 hours a week, work on all sorts of levels of players, helping improve their game. In my nighttime gig, I am a doctor of clinical psychology, so I run a private practice where I work with athletes and non-athletes and couples and families and children on being the best version of themselves, however you want to interpret that. That could be through sport, that could be through just a personal development. But most of every golf lesson that I give during the daytime will have some aspect of performance psychology in it. Mm-hmm. And in my evening hours, as I'm working with my private clients, most of them are golfers or athletes of some nature. So there is a lot of conversation about performance as well as the mental health aspects of it. So I've got that personal, professional world of golf coaching and psychology. And then that third piece of the trifecta is my own personal competition. So I still love to be an active competitor, try to keep my game sharp and play in as many tournaments as I can.
Yeah, well, you do that. You do that really well. So, okay, so let me ask you a couple of questions because I love what you do. You know, that's in my wheelhouse. So, as women playing the game and learning the game of golf, what do you think is their biggest challenge? And doesn't necessarily have to be mechanical because everybody has like their different things. But when you integrate the mental part of it, when you're teaching, they might not know that you're doing that. They probably slide it in there. But what do you think would be something that most women might not think about when it comes to learning the game of golf mentally would really be helpful?
I think a big part of it comes to self-concept. So as a player is getting involved into the game, they might not see themselves as an athlete or see themselves as a golfer. And they're putting themselves in a very vulnerable position to learn something new. They may have had zero experience in golf, may not even know terminologies if we talk about a beginner golfer, and that can put somebody in a very vulnerable position. Or if they're already an accomplished golfer and they want to get better, their self-concept may be like, I'm a 90 shooter and I'm never going to break 80. And so I think one of the biggest challenges is changing paradigms within within women and being able to embrace the competitive spirit. Like, it's okay to beat somebody in match play. It's okay to be the winner and hold the trophy. A lot of the accomplished women that I work with that are playing in mid-AMs or USGA senior opens, it is a lot of perspective about competing and beating other people and wanting to come across as being nice and appearing nice. And we work a lot on the self-concept. Like, you can be a strong athlete and that is okay. You can be a fierce competitor and be polite and have great etiquette. These are all paradigm shifts. And I think women should embrace being strong, being ferocious on the golf course, being a competitor, and also having that social aspect of having fun and having a great network of players that they like to play golf with. In the lesson space, oftentimes being in that vulnerable place can be very intimidating. You've got someone who holds all the knowledge, myself, and then you've got someone who's gaining knowledge. And there is a little bit of power differential there. And I always encourage my women players to stand up for themselves, speak up for themselves, set good boundaries. Who's going to be within your world that can give you information? Is it a spouse? Is it a friend? And who in your world are you going to cut off from the rabbit ears, I like to say, where people come over and try to give you too much information? Really set good boundaries for who's going to be guiding, mentoring, and coaching you so that you're not listening to 40 different people, so that you're not falling prey on the driving range where people are trying to come over and help you because you appear like you're vulnerable, you appear like you're inexperienced in golf. I really want to empower all level of women golfers to have a self-concept of being strong, setting good boundaries, knowing what you're doing, having clear goals to work on when you're at the driving range, having clear initiatives that you want to track and master when you're on the golf course so that they fully take ownership of their game. Very important to take ownership of their game.
Yeah, yeah. I love that. I wrote that. I wrote down competition and you kind of went right into that. So that was perfect because I do want to ask you a little bit more about that. But the identity piece, I think it's so interesting, and I'm going to butcher this. There was a great TED talk by the I think she was like the president or the CEO of Apple. What was that woman's name? Do you remember who I'm talking about? She like Lean In. She wrote the book Lean In. Okay, anyway,
Oh, Sheryl Sandberg.
yeah, okay. I'm pretty sure it's her. Everybody can Google it. It's a TED Talk, but she talked about, to paraphrase it really quickly, and you'll get the gist of it, even though it might not be 100% accurate, is that when they looked for people to scale up inside the corporation, the first people to send in those resumes and to apply were the men. The men were like, "Sure, I can do it. Like, this is not a problem." And the women always felt like they were not ready yet. They needed to learn more. They had to have more experience, right? They underestimated their value. And then what they found is, as they hired these men who kind of, fatted up their resume a little bit, that actually did, they're like, "Oh, good enough. I can do that. Like, I can figure it out." Right? They have that just natural, I'm going to say it's partially genetic, right? Part of them that they apply and go for things that women don't typically go for. And so taking that, segueing into what we're talking about, is in golf, women in general underestimate where they are ready to compete and ready to go out there and play and ready to go and join people. I remember I've done so many beginner golfer clinics, and I'd see the same people every year. And I'm like, wait a minute. Like, you came last year, so just consider me a beginner. Like, just pretend I know nothing. I'm like, but you don't know nothing, right? So it's that, how do you talk into that? Like that, it's hard. I think it's challenging, I should say, for someone like you said that's a 90 shooter, that them going through and breaking down to being an 80 shooter when they really are convincing themselves that they're not ready.
Yeah, that concept of like walk as if or act as if. I think that in a way is really important for women, that if they want to get into, for example, a different echelon of scoring, walk around and act like you're an 80 shooter, that you shoot 85 every single week. You'll start to notice your behaviors change. You'll start to notice that you seek out playing with better golfers rather than someone who is a little bit higher handicap than you. And you'll start to rise to their level. And I remember reading that book, Lean In, and there were so many great pieces of that where if you are empowered and you feel certain in yourself, I'm going to stay away from the word confident because I think that's overused, but if you feel certain in yourself that you're capable because of your own personal experiences, then you will be more courageous and brave to be the first one to tee off, to be the first one to put your scramble team together to go play in your club event. And having that ability to be comfortable and authentic within yourself is so important to leading on the golf course. And all too often, I'll see women, I don't think I can carry that, or I don't think I can hit my 7-wood today. Well, if you don't think you can do it, then you're absolutely right. You cannot do it. But if you allow for an opportunity of optimism, let me try. Let's just see. If it works, cool. If it doesn't, all right, I'll try a different approach. That might allow for some more doors to open and for some greater performance to happen.
Yeah. Do you think one of the things that holds women back in this area, just from a lot of conversations that this just made me think of, men will go out and play golf, and this is not a bashing of anything, right? But they'll go out and play golf and not worry as much about what people think as women have a tendency to worry about how they look or what they shoot or how people might judge them a little bit more. Do you think that plays a role in them limiting themselves on taking those risks and being courageous on the golf course? I hear that a lot. They get really self-conscious about what other people think.
Yeah, I think honestly, it's probably pretty equal. Women verbalize it more and men don't verbalize it as
Okay, fair, yeah.
Uh, I feel like I've had a lot of men on my lesson tee who will share and reveal once they're comfortable, but at first glance, I think they will appear like they don't care about what others think, and it's sort of like the spotlight effect. The spotlight effect in psychology is where we think as a person there's a bias of us. Everyone is looking at us like we're under the spotlight. So yeah, when you're teeing off, it appears like everyone is looking at you teeing off. But to be honest, if you ask those three other folks, they're thinking about their own tee
Yeah.
shot, or they're thinking about how they're going to recover from their own stuff, or what tasks they're going to do after golf, or how hot is it going to be today. So the spotlight effect is we tend to overestimate what other people are thinking about our game. And I do think that is a limiting factor for a lot of women who aren't certain in their skills, who aren't certain in their abilities quite yet, that they have a distortion that other people are judging their game.
Mm.
And I try to convey and articulate to most of my students who share that fear with me, to be honest and blunt, no one cares about your game. They're
Right.
thinking about their own game. They're more anxious about their own shot. They're more concerned about their own score. Their eyes may be looking at you, but they're honestly not thinking about anything that you're doing.
Yeah, that's so true. I like that, the spotlight effect. That is so true. Yeah, that's a good thing. It really does take a little bit just to really convince your brain that the people are not staring at you, thinking about you, like judging you, or nor are they going to remember your score. Like that's the thing, like people they're going to remember that I shot this high score in this tournament or I finished, dead last. I'm like, no, they're not. Like,
No.
right.
And the bad shot that you hit that ricocheted off the cart and went somewhere else, they'll forget it by tomorrow. Only
Yeah.
you are going to remember it and nobody else will.
Yeah. Well, no one will forget Scotty Scheffler's shank. That's different kind of shank, but yours, the average person, yes. Okay. So let's talk about competition because you are a very competitive golfer and, most people, there's a level of competition if you're going out there, unless you're just going out there to play and, goof off and not keep your score. But um, define competition. Not competition, define competitive, because I have so many people women will come up and tell me they're like, I'm just not competitive. So how would you define it? And let me add the other side of it. Then there's people like, I'm competitive, but I don't want to show it because other women, just like you kind of mentioned, think that I mean, or that I, am not thinking about their feelings because if they beat them, right, then they're like being mean to the person that they beat. So define competitive.
For me, my gut visceral reaction is to strive for excellence.
Mhm.
And when I think about being competitive, it really isn't against anybody else, it's against me. It is striving for greatness, it's doing better every single time I'm out there or striving to do better. I think back to one of my favorite books, Atomic Habits, and the idea of just being 1% better every day. what can I do to be 1% better every day? I find that that encapsulates the spirit of competitiveness. So if I'm playing in a foursome and it's not under a stipulated tournament round, it's just a recreational round, I'm competitive with myself. There are things on the golf course that I want to achieve. There's maybe more fairways that I want to hit. There's more greens and reg I want to hit. There's different metrics and benchmarks that I want to hit. And for me, that means competitive. Now, let's say that a woman is playing in a tournament. So it's defined as a tournament, and maybe it's a scramble. And you've picked your three besties and you're having a great time out there. But you definitely want to win because maybe there's some cool prizes out there. You're striving for excellence. You're going to try to hit quality golf shots. You're going to try to incorporate a pre-shot routine to make sure that you're fully ready and fully certain before you hit a shot. It doesn't have to be me versus you. In terms of competition, that happens, in my perspective, one time in golf. It's called match play. So if you and I are playing a match, yes, I am trying to score lower than you, Kathy, so that I can win the match. But in a stipulated stroke play, I don't consider any of the other individuals in the field necessarily my direct competitors, because I'm competing against a golf course, which has no humanness to it. It is me versus the golf course. So I think if women take away the personal piece of competition, me versus you, unless it's match play, different story, but they look at it more of, hey, I'm in this space, we're all competing and we're all trying to beat the golf course today. And the person who beats the golf course the best gets to be the winner. You can still be polite. You can still have great etiquette. I hope that nobody that has played competitive golf with me would walk away saying she was mean. I might be serious. I might be disciplined, but I'm certainly going to be polite and have great golf etiquette. So for me, competitiveness is a personal striving for excellence. And no matter what level of golfer you are, you can still be kind and empathic and smash everybody on the golf course because you're on the golf course.
Yeah, this is so true. I tell people, you have no idea. Well, now that you can do electronic scoring, you do, but which is not my favorite thing for people to look at yours either. Okay, yeah, we could actually have a conversation about that. But yeah, I am not a fan at all. I can't even see an upside to it. Maybe I coach some professional golfers who are try on the cut line. And maybe if they look at the cut line and they're deciding whether to go for a par five, maybe, but nowhere has it ever, I tell people, they're like, well, I needed to birdie the last two holes. I said, okay, so if you could turn on a birdie, like on demand like that, then why didn't you do it in the first 16 holes? Right. Right? It's like, it doesn't work that way. How many times have you said, I need to make a birdie, or I need to make a putt, or I need to hit a fairway, right? And this hole, like you didn't need to on all the other holes and turn it on. It just, it usually doesn't work. But besides that, relative to the competition part, I tell people, you don't know who's on the field. Like all you're going to do is you stay in your lane and you hit as many shots as you can from your level of excellence. And you might get challenged to achieve higher or strive more by maybe someone in the group that that you're head to head with. That's competitive. Like they're doing well, let me dig deeper kind of thing. But at the end of the day, you just slap your score up on the board and you exposes how you did against everybody else. And that's all you can do because you can't control those other people. I've had some people who have told me that all they want to do is really, really win a club championship. But the women at the club have low handicaps. And so it's going to be hard for them to win. And I'm like, I suggest go join a club that has all high handicap women golfers, and then you win. But are you any better? Like, have you done anything in personal development, right? Or wishing someone like Tanya Harding, kind of a player coming in, that's dramatic, but that's the effect. Like, I wish that person would just like hit it out of bounds so I can win, right? And that's also not in the competitive spirit of golf, right? Don't you think?
Yeah, it's the thing that popped into my mind was, what do you want the win for? I think oftentimes, like club championships, the win is for everyone to look differently, favorably on a person. But what if we took away the idea of, I need other people to look favorably on me, and I played golf for me because I enjoy it and I like to try to do my best? If my score happens to give me the title of club champ, cool. But what's even more important is that I was able to overcome obstacles. I was able to overcome adversity, keep things together, and put together a great round. Oftentimes and this is for men and women both, not just women specifically, but the titles and the trophies, it's the same thing with juniors as well, is almost like this self-esteem boost, because we want other people to like us, and we want other people to see us on a pedestal in a great light. You can do that without winning. Because remember, people are going to forget that you're club champion. They are going to remember how you treated them on the golf course,
Right.
or your actions with them. So for someone who says, I just want to win a club championship, I'd say, for why? What does it mean to you? Does it mean that you're good enough? Do you need that trophy to make you feel like you can accomplish something? Or can you do that outside of the extraneous reward and play your best from your own perspective, and then see if that competes with other people who are trying to do the same thing?
Right. I've heard people say, I want the parking spot, like where they get
Okay, great reward.
Yeah. It's a little different. I'm like going, okay, but let's think of all the steps you're missing out on if you had to park in the back of the lot. But I guess they want that name there. So if that's their motivation, it's yeah, same thing. It's a different kind of trophy. It's a permanent trophy in the parking lot, right?
That's right. That's right.
So that is great. Okay, well, thank you so much for being here. Is there anything else you could share with the audience listening on maybe some things to take away, or some actions that they could take right now to help them moving forward, maybe mentally relative to the game of golf, wherever they are?
Yeah, I would say that I would love for all golfers, and women in particular, to take a lot of ownership over their mental game. And when you are in better control of your state, emotions, how you think, your golf is going to reflect that. It's not all about technique or how many golf balls you hit. So I'd encourage you to grab some great sports psychology, golf psychology books, listen to some great podcasts, listen to some great experts out there, and take ownership over how can you manage yourself in the moment. If you can overcome adversity, if you can overcome the spotlight effect, if you can manage the inside part of your game, the outside part of your game, which everybody sees, is certainly going to be reflected on that. So my biggest piece of advice is give as much credence to the mental game right now as your physical game. Nourish it, develop it, feed it, wash it, water it, so that it continues to grow and thrive. Because if you get that part down, the external part is really going to shine.
Yeah, I totally 100% agree with you. So, well, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for all you do for golf and the contributions you make inside the PGA and the LPGA, and to all the golfers out there. You are really, you're an ambassador for the game of golf, and I appreciate that in the business. So thank you very much for being here too.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. I appreciate the camaraderie and enjoy the conversation.
Yeah, thank you. All right.
So there you have it. So many good nuggets to take away from there. I hope you found a lot of value out of listening to Dr. Alison Curdt, and I appreciate her coming on. And as she mentioned, listen to podcasts and read some books. And so I'm glad you're here listening to this podcast, and you can find the link for my book that is on Amazon in the show notes. So you can also read that. So, all right, my friends, I hope you have a beautiful week, and I'll talk to you next Wednesday. All righty, bye.